In today's video, I'm going to be talking about boundaries and the importance of boundaries for personal well-being, and also about some space invaders that want to invade your space. So let's get into it. Boundaries serve as invisible lines that protect our mental, emotional and physical well-being. Whether it's pushy employers or clients who think it's okay to contact us outside working hours or the working environment, or whether it's just acquaintances that just don't respect our personal space and our personal decisions and our personal preferences when we've made them clear, boundaries really matter. And they must be respected. I used to work for the church in a parish many years ago, and the church provided a house that went with the job. So it was a church house, and in the house there was a little office where I could work and sort of do things, writing and studying and what have you. But it was also the place that when people wanted to see me, I would see them in that office space. And because the church provided the house with a job, it really felt, or I perhaps felt, that people from the church had the right just to show up any time of day or night and be welcomed into that space that was provided by the church for my work. And I did put some boundaries in, especially on my day off. The shock when I went into working for the Church of England was all my other previous jobs. I used to have a 5-day week and get 2 days off at weekend. And I went from that to working a 6-day week and just having 1 day off. And I know a lot of people think people that work for the church only work 1 day a week. It's the exact opposite. And so that one day, that 24 hours of space was really important for me. And I was very strict on keeping that free from anything to do with church or work. It was an important boundary, but still people wanted to overstep the line. Being available to any group of people 24/7 is just not sustainable. It's just not doable. You can't sustain that in your life. It would just be too overwhelming. Now, interestingly, when I left that job, I stayed in the same area. But I bought my own house with my own money, or a mortgage from the building society. But some people, especially the people who they've always got problems, and they present as though they want help with the problem. But as many problems as you solve, they've always got another one, because the problem isn't the issue. The issue is they want attention. And some of those people, even when I moved out of the church house and bought my own house and wasn't doing the job anymore, some of those people still showed up at my private house and seemed to expect to be welcomed in and have a right to come in at any time. But from day one, when that began to happen, I put in a very strict boundary. So that wasn't the job I did anymore. And yes, I want to be helpful, I want to be kind to people, but I also don't want my private home invaded by random people showing up unannounced without an appointment. Had they made an appointment, they might have been welcomed in, but I set the boundary by keeping people at the front door. So I'd chat to them on the doorstep. Even if, I remember one occasion it was raining, and the person really expected to be welcome in, and I knew they would take about 2 hours of my time, and we wouldn't get anywhere, because what they wanted was attention, not problem solving. So I just kept them on the doorstep, and eventually they got away enough and they went away. It sounds miserable, but in order for me to survive emotionally and mentally, I can't be on call to any Tom, Dick or Mary 24 hours a day. So that was a boundary that I put in, that this is my private house. I'm no longer in the position I was before. Someone else is doing that job. And this is it. This is my boundary of my private home. And I did that because one of my boundaries is your drama can't destroy my peace. I work very hard to live a calm and peaceful life. We can't control everything, and we have our own dramas often enough. We don't need other people's dramas all the time interfering. If we've got a friend and they need help, sure, I'm available for that, and I might be available for that at odd hours. But I'm talking about just the general public and distant acquaintances really expecting something. And people that bring drama all the time, that is not how I live my life. And some people choose to live in the drama because, as I said, what they want is attention. So if there isn't drama, they're not likely to get attention. And that's fine, I suppose, if you want to live your life like that. I don't want drama queens in my life. So if you're a bit of a drama queen, we're unlikely to be friends. Another boundary we should probably think about is if you've got a skill or a business, you can have people who may or may not be friends. There may be acquaintances who think they're friends, and they show up wanting your skill or your business for free or at big discounts. Now that's when they assume that. But that's overstepping a boundary. If you want to offer a discount, that's up to you. If you want to do mates rates, that's up to you. But you can't have clients and people showing up expecting you to do what you do for a living for free. That's not their decision, that's your decision. Now I do some things, I've done some videos for community groups for free, but I've also done some videos for community groups that were paid, and that's my decision whether I do them for free or not. People shouldn't assume that, because that's my boundary, is my skill, and my business is mine to make decisions about, not strangers coming and deciding that I'm going to do something for free. And then also there's other people's boundaries. So for example, if you're a member of a family, which I am, and you live with other people and you don't live on your own, checking work emails and being distracted at home outside of working hours can really be bad for your relationships. So you may put in a boundary between you, agree between you that you just don't check work emails when you're off duty at home, or you don't take work phone calls. It depends on the job, I guess, and what the arrangement is and what the expectation is. But generally, like people send me emails all the time, I do not check emails every day. I don't have notifications switched on. If you send me an email, it could be 3 or 4 days before I even see it, because I don't want the interruption of constant pings of emails in my life. I don't. So, and again, in the evening, my phone is set to switch notifications off. So unless I look at my phone, I'm not going to see a notification. And the exemptions are family, so it'll let family members through, but anyone else, it's on silent. That's just a boundary I've decided. We all have to decide our own boundaries, but we also have to think about how our actions, even if we were okay with constant interruptions at home, we have to think about how our actions are affecting other members of our family. And I think there's something important about when you're at home and just not checking your phone all the time. And again, if we meet for breakfast or coffee, I am there with you, a real person in a real place. And if I take my phone out of my pocket, I'll put it on the table face down. I'm not waiting for notifications. And the only reason I take it out of my pocket is just for comfort. It's just because when I sit down, the phone is uncomfortable in my front pocket. So I sometimes just put it on the table. But if I have arranged to meet you for a meal or coffee out, I want to interact with you face to face. I don't want to look at your phone. I don't want you checking your phone. If you're more interested in your phone than our meeting together, you go and have coffee with your phone, and I'll go and find someone who wants a friendship. So I know we're all addicted to phones, but you need to break that habit. For me, that is a boundary. For other people it may be different, but for me that's a boundary. If we're meeting together to have friendship, then we're together face to face. We're not looking at phones or devices. And then in relationships we might need to set boundaries about respectful behaviour. You shouldn't be tolerating being constantly disrespected, and you shouldn't be tolerating being disrespected. So these are relationship things we may need to communicate, and if we feel we're being disrespected we may need to say so, but we can have boundaries that we don't tolerate people disrespecting us. And I think I said in the last video, you know, if people get stroppy and insulting in the comments section of this YouTube channel or my other one, which rarely happens on the other one, but if you get personal and insulting, I mean, you'll just be blocked. I do not tolerate personal insults, and just people coming up on the comments to splurge out all their personal issues and insulting me. I don't allow it. So that's why you shouldn't really see any of that in the comments, because people start that. I have a boundary. I don't want it on my channel. I don't want other people reading it. Not because of I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm not trying to hide the fact that someone's been rude, but you don't need that in your life. I don't want it in my life. That's my boundary. And yes, people can have different opinions, but we can have different opinions and share those different opinions in a respectful way. But personal abuse I have a boundary, so I don't tolerate that. And if you can get some of these boundaries in your relationships, and you both sides understand what the boundaries are, then it really sort of encourages healthy relationships too. Now, a lot of people, especially if you're prone to people pleasing, which for many years I was, and I think there's an element of that still there that I have to kind of work to overcome as the days go by. But if you're into people pleasing, you may think that establishing boundaries and stating your boundaries may cause conflict and upset people, and people won't want to be your friend. But to be honest, I've found the exact opposite is true. If you say, I don't do that anymore, I'm not doing that, I don't allow that, I don't want to be involved with people that are doing that, generally people respect that, because people actually find it helpful to know where boundaries are, because they don't want to trample on your feelings, and so communicate your boundaries. And the difficulty can be if you've allowed people to cross your boundaries and trample on your boundaries for many years, and then you begin to state what the boundary is, you may get some pushback, but that's okay. These are your boundaries, and you can state your boundaries and you can enforce your boundaries, and that's just how it is. They don't have a right, just because you've allowed something in the past, they don't have a right to do those things again when you've told them that the boundary is that they don't do them. And actually we can just communicate our boundaries in a sort of kind and informative way, and they tend to improve relationships, many times over. So and when you're getting to know someone, something you didn't think of, you may just say something or do something that really upsets people, and hopefully if they can tell you that that's what happened, then you can find a boundary that, okay, I didn't realise that would have that effect on you, so I'm not going to do that again. And I've got friends, and I know certain things would trigger them or upset them, so I don't do those things when I'm with them, because I want to be a good friend, not an annoying one. Boundaries are really important for your well-being, because we live in a world that's overwhelming. The information tsunami that comes at us every day can be absolutely overwhelming, That's why, I mean, I limit the amount of news I watch. I may watch it once or twice a week, if that. Some weeks can go by when I don't watch it, just because it can be overwhelming. We've got too much information, and so just setting boundaries about what we do and what we don't do, what we watch and what we don't watch, how much our technology interferes with the daily flow of our life. As I said, I don't check emails every day, and they don't ping up automatically. I have to manually check my emails, and I felt a lot better since doing that. So boundaries are good for personal well-being and our mental health. Another good boundary is just to say no. Just say no. If you're not used to saying no to people, just try it as a joke, because I, for many years, decades, was not very good at saying no. And it's a wonderful, wonderful, powerful, freeing word. There's a book called The Power of Now, but we should know about the power of no. The power of no and saying no is wonderful. So we shouldn't, if we're already overwhelmed with work, we should not be taking on more work that would overwhelm us even more. And if we're working for a toxic employer and it's in an employment arena, I know that could be difficult, but then we must ask the question, are we accepting working for a toxic employer? So that's that question. But generally in life, people are asking you to do things outside the work environment and you're already overwhelmed. The word no can be wonderful. And the great way, if you're not used to saying no, is just to say it as a joke, and do that a few times around people. And even if you think you could do the thing they're asking, just say no at the beginning. Just say no, I couldn't think of anything worse, and make a joke out of it, and then chat through it a bit more. And if it is something you think, well, I could squeeze that in and it wouldn't be that bad, and it might lead to other positive things, then that's up to you, but at least you've set a boundary. But saying no to stuff, a lot of my well-being has come through saying no to things that are not helpful, and people who are sort of interfering and encroach on my personal space. Saying no to them has been a positive thing, and it's been good for well-being. So learn to say no. Boundaries are a vital tool for relationships and well-being. So I want you to think about them this week. And you can either meditate on this and do it in your mind, or you could do it physically. Because a lot of it is, I've titled this Space Invaders, because people invade our space rather. One little exercise you can do is just get some, it'd be great to do it with red wool. If you got some bright red wool, cut a length off, I don't know, about 2 or 3 meters, and make a circle with the red wool on the floor so that you're stood in a red circle, and then just meditate on that for a minute. So that's your personal space, and anyone that wants to step over that line into your personal space needs your permission. Visually, of course, that is more about the physical. So if there are certain people we don't want to touch us, and certain people we do want to touch us. So if we're in a close, intimate relationship, obviously those people, there tends to be touch here and there throughout the day, hugs, so some people are allowed and know the level at which they're allowed to cross that red line, but strangers, need your permission to cross that line. And if you're having strangers crossing into your personal space without permission, you need to say something about that. That's not okay. So although that is a visual of a physical space and people stepping into your space with or without permission, and the importance of permission to do that. It also translates to your emotional space, your mental well-being space, and all the rest of it. And I think just meditating on that picture, you become more aware of people just encroaching on your space. You can set a boundary, and for a lot of your daily life, you can have a boundary about what happens in your personal space. Obviously, lots of stuff happens in life that we don't control, but what this video is about is that we have personal space, and some people invade that space without permission and without, as you know, it's unwanted, and so we need to say something and set a boundary. So what do you think? Do you have boundaries for life, and do you have boundaries between work and home life? Do you have boundaries between the days you work and the days you have off? Do you have boundaries about when you meet someone, whether they're just going to look at the phone all the time or they're actually going to engage with you as a human? What have been your most helpful boundaries? Leave a comment in the comment section below. If you found any value in this video, as always, don't forget to hit that red subscribe button, hit that little bell icon, and you'll get notifications of new videos. And I'll see you next time, and I pray that you have a peaceful week.